Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Cymru Am Byth Podcast. This is your Welsh podcast on Cardiff City World. I'm Si, as I say, and I'm delighted to be joined by Harry. How are you, mate? You good?
Doing well, mate. Yeah, nice to get back with you.
Yeah, this is it. But this is better, isn't it? Nice and constant every couple of days. And we'll be back tomorrow as well. There you go.
Yeah.
Little treat for the people. So, yeah, a little bit late because I had to end the Cardiff City phone-in. So I had to do that before I could do that.
All good, mate. All good.
So we're working on that. So yeah, we're interesting weekend, mate. There was a little murmuring of criticism from some on Twitter, which I know is a very unusual for Twitter, such a positive place. But what did you? I know people have heard a lot of my views over the last sort of days and earlier on this evening. So tell me what you made of the game, start to finish, and starting lineup, everything.
Yeah. Let's start with the starting lineup then. I texted you as soon as it came out, didn't I? There was a couple of left fields that we kind of predicted there'd be one or two, and there was probably one, which was probably Sorba. I think he was the one that we looked before, though, didn't we? He starts one, he subs one, he starts one, sub one. Done that 6 times in a row. So there was a very good chance he was going to play this game, or be, at home or whatever. And yeah, I think he was the biggest spanner. I didn't think it would happen, but I'm not exactly shocked. And the whole Jordan James sort of coming off the bench for 30 odd made a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense looking at Tuesday. Obviously, we probably could have done with him, playing 290s ideally, but he's been playing a lot of football, and I can kind of see why, maybe he was protected somewhat there. Overall, I mean, I think we scored at good times. We scored at good times in football games, right? Very early on, and then we scored obviously the second one just after half time. In I think Ben Davies came out and said we scored at important times. Specifically the second one coming out second half. Bellamy asked for energy, from the first half because, I'm not saying we weren't amazing, but I thought we were a little bit poor first half in some areas. Specifically Sheehan, to be honest, man. I don't want to single him out, but he's the first one that comes to mind where ball was getting played into him every time on the half turn and stuff with a bit of pressure, around him, which, you would expect as a DM. Kept losing the ball, mate. And I don't know whether it was always his fault. It might be sometimes the pass that's played into him, it's not on his correct foot, or, there's other things that, go into it. It's not just him. But unfortunately, it looks like him every time, right? Because he's the one receiving the ball and losing it. I mean, I'm not joking. It must have happened 3 or 4 times. And it made me a bit worried because we mentioned it. If he was going to go with Sheehan as a 1, which he kind of did with Brooks and Cullen sort of, in those 8-10s, he was left isolated and there was no one really to stop. I'm guessing Bellamy thought that this wouldn't happen. Obviously, the fact that he gets, dispossessed now and again, he's being very comfortable on the ball. He's shown he can do that role quite comfortably, turning into, from the centre halves and giving it to, our forward thinking players. But it didn't happen for a couple of times, and it worried me because they had legs on the break, didn't they? And on another day, those could have turned into more goals. I know they ended up scoring from a pen, which was harsh, but it was only going to happen to Connor Roberts, that one there, unfortunately. But yeah, it was one of them where I didn't think the first half was amazing, but we kind of got through it without anything crazy bad happening.
Yeah, the first half for me was, I thought it highlighted 1 or 2 issues. Like you said, I didn't think Sheehan was as bad as some people were making out. I just think, with the greatest respect to him, he's a League One player playing League One football, and he's gonna make those errors. He's not at the level of an Ampadu or a Jordan James or even like a Joe Allen in his pomp. So he's always going to make some errors. But I thought he was okay, as I said on Sunday. But I did think the tempo was slightly off for Wales. I thought we were a bit slow moving the ball in the first half. And I also thought that we wasted a couple of really good opportunities in the first half where we could have probably got a second or maybe a third goal. But I also thought it highlighted some of the issues with Cullen in possession. That's a bit of an issue. He's very, very good off the ball, does so much work off the ball, makes the pressing, the energy, his work rate is excellent. and he's just a little bit, the timing of his runs, the first touch, things like that, and the hitting passes. And similar with Connor Roberts, I don't think Connor Roberts plays if not for the injuries. So I was just saying then, mate, I thought the tempo was off. We were a little bit too slow with some of the passing, and every time we picked up the pace, it all of a sudden we cut through them, and we probably should have scored at least a second in that first half. And I did wonder whether we'd pay for those chances, because you always get that kind of past trauma of being a Wales fan. But I also thought it highlighted one of my issues with Cullen is off the ball, fantastic. Really like him. Works off the ball, really high press, energetic, aggressive, everything which Craig Bellamy wants to do out of possession.
Yeah.
In possession, probably not quite as technically good as a Brooks or some of the other guys. So he underhits passes or first touch is not as good, or slightly overruns like where the ball's going to go. And I thought that was similar with Connor Roberts. Connor Roberts, though, to be fair to him, was asked to do a very different role to what he does week in, week out. Week in, week out, he's asked to overlap the winger, get in behind and get crosses into the box. Whereas this time he was asked to almost invert into midfield because they wanted to isolate Daniel James against the fullback. And I thought that worked. A pretty good plan, because every time Daniel James or Sorba Thomas got the ball, they beat the fullback and put the ball in the box. One thing Daniel James has got to sort out is final ball. 1 cross out of 12, mate, found his mark, which is, when you look at, I think I forget now off the top of my head, I think Sorba Thomas was like 4 out of 7 found their mark. Yeah. But 1 out of 12 is bad. But
it is.
That's always Daniel James in his Welsh career in a nutshell. Fantastic up until the final thing.
No, I agree with you, mate. Yeah, you're right. 1 out of 12 crosses. I think that is like just going off like me knowing how many crosses people normally do in a match. 12 is actually ridiculously high.
Yeah, and for one half. For one game.
For one game, it's ridiculous. Like you said, only one ends up, connecting or whatever. But for me, mate, that's a problem. But I think the biggest problem for me was the lack of number 9 presence. Brennan was not like, and I'll give him a bit of slack in a minute, but ultimately we played really without a 9, didn't we? Like, it's not as if Dan James had much to aim for, if we're being honest, right? Now, look, on the flip side of that, Brennan Johnson is not a 9. He can do a job there, but against 2 big fucking Kazakhstani centre halves who are in a deep block, Brennan isn't your guy. He's just not. That's not his game. His game is what basically Dan James did all day. Space out on the right, doing things, in space, attacking space and all that stuff. Brennan in between 2 centre-half is just never going to work, mate. Back to goal. I'm not saying his hold of play is terrible, but it's not like unbelievable. He's not like flicking things around court. Like, he's not unbelievably technically to where, he's pinning defenders. He's able to get his bum in the way, and he's able to just hold off pressure for a while and allow us to come up the field. He's not that type of player. He's just not. He's better like facing defenders rather than back to goal, back to defender, right? So yeah, that's kind of like a problem, the Dan James thing, but also the bigger problem for me is like lack of people in the box that you're there to aim for. Completely agree with you on Cullen, mate. He's an absolute workhorse. But I want more from my 8 and 10 there from an attacking perspective, right? The thing he lacks for me, and I've kind of sussed it out now, he's not very good at ball carrying. He can't really carry the ball, can't dribble with it, basically. He's good if he's around the 18-yard box with possession, he can find passes and kind of do that. But he's not somebody like a Brooks who can pick the ball up 40 yards outside a goal and gallop with it for a little bit. Even Wilson can kind of do that without being too athletic. But Cullen, I'm not saying he's not fast or anything. He just doesn't show us that he can dribble with the ball, and carry it forward.
I think it is, mate. I think it's and again, it's only an opinion. I think it's football IQ. So if you look at the second half, probably 5 or 6 times, Sorba Thomas or the right, we get down the right side and we put it back to the edge of the 6-yard box or the penalty spot, and probably 3 out of those 5 or 6 times, Cullen is in there, but he's in the wrong place. Yeah. And to me, that's clearly something they've worked on, because they did it every time they got down the right, they were pulling it back. But he wasn't in the right place. Now, you could say, the balls are in, but the majority of them were decent balls, and he was just overrun it or slightly too deep.
You see the one with his right foot? He had a shot with his right, didn't he, off Brooks?
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
then Rabbi
never going to
Matondo
score off
comes
your
on,
right.
and he's right, like he's in exactly the right
place,
spot.
right time.
So let me ask you a question, mate. I agree with you on Brennan Johnson. I think long term he might be a 9, but I don't think he is now. Maybe he hasn't got the physicality at the moment, or maybe he hasn't got the football maturity to play there at the moment. And he's better wide. So is that a mistake from Craig to not go with Mark Harris, who has not done no wrong for him, or maybe even Kiefer Moore? I know Kiefer Moore's coming back from injury, so maybe he wanted to wait till Tuesday to give him his game, sort of thing. But is that a mistake? Like, we've won the game, but just to give context as well, Brennan Johnson touched the ball 11 times before he went off at the hour mark.
Made 6 accurate passes.
Yeah,
whole
lost
game.
Possession 4 times out of that 11 as well.
And he lost 1 duel out of 0. Like, he had 1 duel and lost it. Like, he literally didn't do anything. Like, genuinely nothing.
And he's so talented that it's difficult, isn't it? And he has struggled a little bit to replicate his club form at international level, but he has been moved around a little bit, left, right, centre. So he hasn't been able to get maybe the same consistency and momentum of Sorba Thomas. He plays on the left, or he plays on the right, and he's Daniel James plays, he's out wide. I thought Brooks did a good job. I thought there was a little bit of pressure on Brooks with no Harry Wilson to be the kind of link-up guy and the creative guy. And I thought he looked pretty sharp.
Disappointed he went off, though, 60th?
Yeah, I was. But then I thought, Jordan James and Nico Williams were, like, levels above anybody else on the pitch.
How good was Nico, mate?
He's ridiculous, isn't it? Like, I thought Ben Davis and Joe Roden were excellent.
Oh, unbelievable.
8 out of 10s. But I thought Nico
every game
and Jordan James were just like up there in levels of terms of their ability.
How they impact the game, isn't it?
Yeah, and just they're like 2 steps ahead of the players around them. Mate. And even sometimes 2 steps ahead of their own teammates in terms of where they're just
the runs he wants people to make. Like you see it with him and Sorba. Like Sorba, raw talent wise, Sorba is a very good football player. He's athletic, he takes people on, he's raw, and he's it seems like he just doesn't think, which sometimes can go for you as a footballer, right? He just doesn't think and he just go off instinct. Obviously, he's got Nico there behind him, mate. And some of the balls Nico's playing him he's almost like encouraging him to do it before Sorba even sees the pass on a lot of the time, just because the standard of football Nico's playing right now, he's at the top of his game. I've never seen him play so well, and it's no coincidence he's playing every game for Forest. So look, Nico's just I wax lyrical about him every time I kind of get the chance to, but he just shows me every time how good he is. Like he's just incredibly good, like an incredibly good footballer in both aspects, and he's playing left back. Like I know it's like not that far anymore for a right back to do that, but still, like it's phenomenal, mate. To look good on the opposite side is really hard. Like it is. Especially when you're not like his left foot's not good. He don't use his left foot. So from like a balance perspective, it's very awkward. I wasn't entirely impressed with Connor Roberts' performance. Really, the job he was asked to do, like you said, come inside and be that third midfielder, really, or second alongside Sheehan, effectively, and he did okay. I just thought, it was good that he would give Dan James a lot of space and all that stuff. But going back to the Brennan thing, it's one of them, mate, where do I think Brennan should start number 9 in a game against Kazakhstan with a low block? No. But where else does he play? I
think Daniel James created a problem, didn't he? Because Craig Bellamy trusts Sorba Thomas, so he's going to be the left side. And then Daniel James's form creates this issue where you want to play Brennan Johnson because he's playing regular for Tottenham and he's a good
Premier League player. It's going back to that.
But Daniel James is absolutely on fire this year, so he's got to play. And he's so quick. He frightens teams. So I think there was probably an element of trying to fit the 3 of them in. Agreed. But for me, I thought Mark Harris was a bit unlucky. And I was surprised because I think I said to you in the show, I felt he really likes Mark Harris. So I felt he was going to be the one to start over Kiefer Moore. But it is fascinating because I think I see a lot of people saying Kiefer Moore will come in. I think Mark Harris comes in on Tuesday, and I think Jordan James will come in as well. I think if it was me, I would go Jordan James for Cullen and Mark Harris or Kiefer Moore for probably for Brennan. But actually, I think what he might do is he might move Daniel James out to the left and then just put Brennan Johnson on the right and drop Sorba Thomas. Because as you said, it literally is like clockwork.
What
every
he's doing
game
with him with his minutes. Yeah.
So it is.
If I didn't know about the previous with Sorba, I would argue like he kind of has to play though on that
that's
moment.
it.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you're Sorba, you're going like Craig. Like I've literally just got you 2 assists. Basically won the game for you twice, effectively secured the victory in the end, and got the the winning assist. Like I want to play again. Like I don't care about like you rotating me. Like I might because he is that type of character from what I've seen in interviews. Like he would probably say that to him. Not to say Craig's going to be like, oh yeah, of course you can play. Like it's down to Craig, but I just think I'd honestly back Sorba and go, Brennan don't deserve to play. I don't care. If I'm Sorba, I'm saying I'm playing. Like if I deserve to play. The other thing I had in my mind, does he do something where he moves Nico to the right, plays a back three with a Cabango, and then moves Sorba to like a left wing back and has Ben Davis behind him? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I could see us playing 3.
Yeah, like 3 centre halves, Ben Davis, Cabango,
and Nico and
Nico and a winger, if you know what I mean, like a Sorba or even a Dan James, mate. You could do either or, and then you can move Sorba up.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought Sorba and Nico would be the wing backs, but then actually he could play. If he plays Nico as one of the 3, he can be the one who kind of brings it out and plays those diagonals and stuff. So there's options in there. It's for me, Jordan James has got to play. That's a big thing for me. Like
1,000,000%.
And it's frustrating because you'd love to see, Ampadu and Jordan James together in that midfield.
Do you think Sheehan plays? Do you think Sheehan plays?
The main reason I think he plays is they haven't got another, unless he goes with like Jordan James and Tom Lawrence as like a 2. Okay, I don't really see another, because he's not going to play a single pivot away from home. I wouldn't have thought.
You wouldn't have
think.
Fair.
Who's going to be the double pivot? So if Jordan James is 1, who else can he sort of slot in alongside him? I mean, he could go with like David Brooks or be really attacking, but I don't see it away from home because this is a bit of a banana skin, isn't it? Ultimately, so
it is.
He's got to get that sort of that balance right. So Sheenan and Jordan James, with Jordan James getting a bit more freedom, I think is probably the most likely. For me.
Bellamy's first game, I agree. Bellamy's first game, Sheehan didn't even play a minute because obviously we had Ampadu, Wilson, and Jordan James play. And then he didn't play a minute away to Montenegro. He didn't play a minute away to Iceland. And then he played 90 at home to Montenegro. He played 90 away to Turkey. He's played 90 in the last 4 consecutive games. But 3 of those have been at home. So he's only played one game away. Which was Turkey, like fair enough. It was a massive, tough game. Like no, I can't knock that. It was Sheehan and Jordan James, Harry Wilson just in front, Brennan, Sorba, and Mark, Nico and Connor. So it's basically a 4-2-3-1. I don't know. I just got a weird feeling. I don't know why. I say don't know why. I do think Sheehan was quite poor, mate. Genuinely, like I don't think he played well at all. He got exposed a little bit. Now, you look at his passing stats. It says he made 55 out of 57 passes, which is 96%, which is actually ridiculous on the surface of things. But he had, as I can see, he had an error leading to shot. So one of his dispossessions was almost a goal. And outside of that, 1-2 goals out of 5. Like he had a fine enough game for a CDM. But if you watch the game, he lost the ball 3 or 4 times where I was a bit like, that can't happen away to Montenegro,
Yeah, like
that worries me a little bit.
North Macedonia will punish you if you give the ball away in your own half.
Good team.
In your own serious players. Half, particularly when you're playing a single pivot, you cannot give the ball away.
No.
For me, I don't think he was terrible. I just thought he was all
terrible.
Right.
But like,
just all right.
I don't know. I expect him to have very good passing stats at home to Kazakhstan. Anyone in CDM is going to have that. But I didn't expect the 3 or 4 like quite severe slip ups to the point where they could have scored. That's all I'm saying. Overall, over like 8, over 90 minutes, he had a good game. But those key moments where they're on their counter, mate, and they score, it's a different game. Then we say he's had a stinker, right? Because the goal's gone in. Well,
the problem is, mate, as well is, if you give the ball away when you're a single pivot, it's going to lead to at least a goal scoring opportunity.
Looks way worse. Agreed. Fair enough.
So your stats can be great, But if the 3 times you gave a ball away, it leads to a goal scoring opportunity, there's a problem there.
You're running a risk. You're running a risk, right?
And I think it goes to show how Josh Sheenan's performances have been that good that,
They have.
we're surprised by a poor performance from him, considering, he is playing lower down the pyramid. I also think that, a 3-1 win against Kazakhstan, where Wales were never really in any danger or any problem. We just had to be a bit patient and, take the chances when they eventually got worked. And I thought, actually, Jordan James, because we would go, the second half, Kazakhstan did not try and press. They just sat, they were just like letting the back three have it. And then Jordan James or Nico would drop into the back three and play like a line breaking pass or a switch ball or a diag. And it would just be, that would be what set Wales off. So that was encouraging that they had a solution to the low block and the lack of press. But I would have just liked to see us move the ball a little bit quicker, particularly in the first half. Second half, obviously, we started the half. The second goal makes it comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Would have liked that third goal a little bit earlier, just because you never know what can happen with a deflection or a penalty or something. It'll be interesting, mate, how he sets up. I think he'll go 3 at the back. I'm not 100% sure who I think the 3 will be, because he played Cabango away, and I think in the last away game, didn't he? Or he brought him on, maybe, I'm thinking.
I think he did, mate, yeah.
So I think we'll go 3. It's just whether Nico plays in the 3 or whether he plays on the right. Question, mate. If everyone's fit, do you think Connor Roberts would have played that game? So like if Owen Beck's fit, because he's just missed out on Bellamy's play games because of injury constantly.
Yeah.
Or even Norrington Davis or someone like that.
I think it brings doubt for sure. I don't think it sways it to he's on the bench necessarily, even though he's been benched a few times already this season by Bellamy, at home, away, or whatever it looks like. But I think Burnley are flying. Like, he's playing every game. Like, I don't rate him. Like, I don't love him as a footballer, I'll be honest. But he's half decent, isn't he? And we don't have that many half decent defenders who are fit. So yeah, he probably does start on default for now. But like you said, if a few more left backs, are fit, Norringtons and Becks, it gives me a headache. But I still don't know if it's enough, unless Beck's like flying in the Championship or something, or Norrington Davis the same. I don't think it warrants like not playing Nico there. Basically, you know. That's my worry. But I agree with you. There is that like element eventually. Once those two bed into actual, playing every week for their club, we'll have another conversation, definitely. Because I'm open to I'm open to Nico playing right back.
Yeah, I'd like to see him on the right. Nico, I think. But then if you play him on the right, you lose the natural diagonal ball where because he's on his left foot.
Harry Wilson one.
Yeah, so it is an interesting conundrum. I could see 3 at the back. It's just whether Nico plays in the 3 or whether Cabango comes in and makes the 3 and then Nico. And I could see a scenario where he goes with Sorba and Nico as your wing backs. Yeah, Cabango goes into the 3. Jordan James, Sheenan, because that gives you a very solid base. But also Sorba Thomas and Nico can go and do both wide attacking job and then play almost 2 10s, but not really 2 10s. You could have like Daniel James in there. You could have Brennan Johnson in there. You can have David Brooks in there. You could have whoever you want in there. You could have Broadhead in there, depending on who and maybe that's the left field one for Tuesday. Everyone's expecting Kiefer Moore. Everyone's expecting Kiefer Moore or Mark Harris. Maybe Broadhead starts.
Why not? That's the thing. We've got such a good squad, mate. Why shouldn't he? Why couldn't he? There's no reason why he couldn't.
Interesting, isn't it? Because I'm not quite sure.
I'm not either. I just think I would like a presence, though, mate. I would like a Kiefer. I think I would like something up there at number 9. When even if we're in possession, even if we're not, like he's just such an outlet on set pieces as well. And I just think we're not the tallest team in the world, are we? Really, outside of Rodin. If Cabango plays, okay. Obviously, if Kiefer plays, Jordan James is not small, neither is Brennan. But like Brennan's not like an actual aerial threat, is he? Realistically. So, probably three or 4 sort of taller players. Ben Davies obviously can defend without being too tall. But I don't know. I just think away from home, I think we'd won that, mate. I do. Like, I know I love Sparky, like I do, I really do. I'm kind of shocked he didn't start the game on Saturday, but I just don't know if this is the game he starts. Even though away to Turkey it worked, I just can't, like, North Macedonia are a good side. Like I follow them quite religiously with the Sora stuff I do, and like, they've got some wicked players. It's not so much defensively though; it's more from an attacking perspective. So, like, I don't expect them to, like, pass the life out of the ball from the back against us anyway.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong; they had 74% possession against Liechtenstein, which is expected. Albeit away. But yeah, their main threat is their goalie. Without not from an attacking perspective, but it's basically Miovski. Obviously, used to play for Aberdeen. He's at Girona now. Scored one and got an assist last game. Ennis Bardi, who's the captain. He's like a number 10. He didn't get anything last, just a couple of key passes and whatever. But he's always dangerous. Used to play for Trabzonspor, or he's on loan. Sorry, from there. Almas, who was at Leipzig, but he's at Torino now. Like, they've got a good, like, front six, basically, which I think we'll respect them. I think we'll go like a 5. I really do. I just don't think they set up as a 4-4-2 last game. I don't know whether they play that every game. I'm just checking now. Yeah, 4-2-3-1. They always go with like a low 9.
Do you think they'll let Wales just generally they'll let us have the ball rather than go looking for it?
They don't have incredible like pace up front or even on the wings. Like, Almas is not a winger, but he's playing in that sort of like false winger, position. I don't think they're blessed with pace. So you know what? Yeah, I think I would maybe stick my neck out and say, yeah, I don't think they'll press a ton. I don't know. I haven't seen the Liechtenstein game, and it's very hard to go off that because they're playing Liechtenstein with all respect. So I don't know. I don't think they will. No, I think they'll sit in a little bit, wait for us to make mistakes, and then sort of, be happy to have the ball for longer periods if they can. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 50-50 game, like, possession-wise. I think it'll be quite tight. I don't think either team will sort of edge it. It might come down to set pieces, like a lot of international footballs do, and I just think, would you rather have Kiefer on the pitch? Would you rather, Dan James 12 crosses this game go to Kiefer's head 3 or 4 times rather than whoever it went to once in the last game? For me, that's where we kill them, is allow them to have possession, allow them to come up the field and play in our sort of third, but on the counter, we've got serious pace. That's the one thing at international level we have over a lot of aging teams. International football is relatively slow for the most part. We've got serious legs, and we need to exploit that. We did it against Turkey a little bit because they were aging at the back, or they are. They don't have many legs, but in that back four, and we've got so much pace up front between multiple players. Brennan, Jordan, Brennan, Dan James, Sorba. There's a lot of pace there, and I just think that'll be Craig's sort of, not plan A, but I definitely think it'll be baked into any strategy that he's going into that game with. I can't imagine Craig's going there thinking, right, lads, let's get 70% possession and wear them out. I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be more, let's sit in and we'll take our moments. We'll take our moments. We'll have 3 or 4 good chances on the break. Can we take 1 or 2 and we win the game 2 or 1, 2-1, 1-0, whatever it looks like? I don't think we'll go there and dominate the ball, to be honest. With all due respect, we could do it, but I just don't think he'd want to do that. I think,
It's difficult, isn't it? Because he's very clearly wanted to dominate the opposition. In all the games he plays, he's kind of wanted for Wales to go and get the ball, win the ball high up, then use it with pace and width. So you can't imagine him sitting in and being comfortable with just keeping possession. But then equally, he did show that he's got a bit of patience about him as a manager tactically. Against Kazakhstan, I'm sure part of him wanted to throw the kitchen sink at it to break him down. International football is difficult when you've got the teams in low blocks and they just do not want to, they're not interested whatsoever in, trying to
press him.
They just weren't interested in trying to press. And I think that becomes a difficulty to deal with. And as much as, it wasn't the greatest performance by by Wales. I didn't think it was as bad as people made out, and I think that that's a massive testament to how high the Bellamy has set the standard, because it was good. It was reliable. It was professional. So, I don't know what people were expecting, really.
You said it, didn't you? Like you had a feeling there'd be a little slip up of some sort, not maybe in the form of a dodgy penalty decision, but it doesn't matter what it looks like. There was a bit of adversity for us. Like we go in 1-1 and stuff, and that's not what we expected as a Welsh fan going into that game before. We thought we'd not steamroll them, but you definitely thought we'd be comfortable when you were at half time. Like to go in 1-0 was a little bit unexpected, but you kind of called it. I remember you saying that, it just doesn't seem like
mate,
it feels
I
too easy.
Bit twitchy when they had that penalty and we just looked a little bit shell shocked for 5 minutes. I was like, oh my gosh, is because I've seen it, Wales, and I just had these visions of us not taking our chances. Getting to like 60 minutes, 70 minutes, we still haven't taken our chances. We made a couple subs, becomes a bit disjointed, and then all of a sudden they get like a free kick 40 yards out. They just shoot and it comes off the wall,
it goes
over the keeper, and then suddenly you've lost the game, and it's all. Do you know what I mean? Like I was concerned by that, but the goal right after halftime, obviously, that settles you down. But and I just thought it was a professional, good performance. I actually expect us to be pretty good on Tuesday because I think psychologically the players, and I don't think it's like a conscious thing. I think it's just a completely subconscious thing. I just think they'll be expecting more of a challenge on Tuesday. They won't want to do what England did and Italy did and slip up against North Macedonia. So it's in their mind, which makes me think that, they'll be more at it. And one thing I'm confident of, mate, is that tactically Craig Bellamy will get it spot on.
Oh, of course. Which is I'll never doubt his sort of prep.
A nice feeling as a Welsh fan.
Yeah, the only thing I think we mentioned in the last pod was like I weren't too happy sometimes with his substitutions, and I can't really fault him on the weekend. I can't really fault him on the weekend, even though I was a bit disappointed that Brooks only got 60 odd. But if he's going to play the next game, maybe then maybe makes sense. But yeah, he obviously brought on Jordan, Sparky, and then Rabbi for a couple of minutes at the end. I thought his subs made a lot of sense, to be honest, and even timing wise, Brennan was inefficient. So yeah, bring Sparky on for that reason. Like a lot of it did make a lot of sense, I thought. The only thing maybe would have been not bring Brooks off and bring Cullen off, if that makes sense. Maybe if you're being really picky. But Cullen made that tackle, didn't he, for the goal at one of, I can't remember which goal it was, but he sort of stepped in front of a player, got the ball, and then was it the first one? And then Ben Davies sort of passed it to Dan James. I can't remember, but
I think so.
Cullen won a tackle, and it resulted in some sort of goal, which like we say, that's his bread and butter right now. We've got a tackling 8, and I just think it's mad. But
tackling 8 who's actually a number 10. But
yeah,
it's one of them. One of the thing I was most pleased about, mate, is that one fair criticism of Craig Bellamy's Wales teams has been the second half performances dipping off a little bit. And actually, the second half yesterday was probably better. It was much stronger. Definitely better than it's been previously, but probably stronger too.
Do you think that had a lot to do with, and we'll never know if it wasn't, but to do with the early goal? The early goal calms a lot of nerves.
It does, but I still think we kind of went.
We went at them straight away, type of thing.
Yeah. It was very clear that we were going to come at them fast, and I think. And I'm purely guessing, obviously, but I think that at halftime, Craig Bellamy would have said, "It's fine. You've created some good chances. You've done a lot of good. When you've played at pace, you've cut through them like a knife through butter. So play with pace. Don't slow it down." But then there's also times when they just sit on the edge of their box and don't even come to the halfway line. You've got to go side to side, move them around a little bit, and then Jordan James or Nico Williams is going to drop in and break the lines, and then you've turned them around, and then you're kind of in behind the midfield, and it makes a big difference. So
I was just thinking then, the biggest criticism I saw on Twitter before the game was, where's our midfield, right? Which was kind of valid. Everyone was looking at
I think that's what... Were you not expecting that, though? Single pivot?
Yeah, we were, weren't we? We were... at home, that's what we should do. Yeah, you're right. We did expect it. We thought Sheehan would play on his own, or someone would play on his own with two sort of 8-10s, which looked like it only would be Josh James or Sheehan as that lone player, which ended up being Sheehan, which is fine. Like, yeah, I got it. Like, it makes sense at home. We should go in with that type of confidence. But yeah, other than that, like I didn't see much else. Maybe after the game, I didn't really look too much after the game, to be honest. But yeah, I think we did exactly what we've asked Bellamy's team to do, especially in the second half. Is don't let your foot off the gas, and they didn't. Like you said, they probably pushed on it a bit more. I think we created 3 or 4 big chances in the second half. We didn't create one in the first, although we scored a goal, but it wasn't a big chance, on paper. So yeah, we were way more effective in the second half, and that's credit to maybe his subs, maybe just the energy that he asked them to bring. I can't fault him, mate. I was buzzing for Rabbi to get his first goal. I can't believe that was his first goal though. Mentally, I know he hadn't been involved a lot, but 24, like you'd have thought he'd got 1 goal by now. Yeah, fair play to him.
What do you think of the chat? The play was amazing to get to it, but when David Brooks goes through in the first half, and he looked to pass it to Sorba, were you a little bit disappointed that he didn't try and take that on himself?
A little bit, yeah. But Brooks is an assister, and on paper, like that's just his game. Like
pace of to break.
No, he's not electric. He's got a gallop, like he's got long legs, long stride. But yeah, he's not exactly rapid, is he? And yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know. I just think his first instinct is if I can pass, I'll pass it, type of thing. Yeah. That's just his nature. For whatever reason,
sensational play to get into that position. By the way, from the whole team, it was real good.
But the goal, the Rabbi goal, mate. Jordan James's ball, by the way.
Oh yeah.
He's wrapped a ball 50 yards down the wing to Sorba. It was one of them where, like, if you get that wrong, it goes into Rose Ed because, like, you've just put everything on it and you've asked it to curl type of thing. Mate, Jordan James, I'm serious now. He's at, like, he's levels above anything I've seen in midfield outside of Ampadu. Like, he's ridiculous. Like, actually, like, even athletically, though, mate. Like, Ampadu's unbelievable. And I wouldn't say Ampadu's not athletic, right? But Jordan James, mate, can get around the pitch.
But he doesn't get credit for his technical ability, mate. I think people think
everyone thinks he's just a workhorse.
And he's an unbelievable footballer. And as I said to you the other day, mate, in the summer, I was kind of banging a drum because Birmingham had gone down. And I said, if Cardiff have only got 3 million to spend it all on him. And, a bit of tongue-in-cheek, but, like, he is a footballer and he's so young, mate. And this is the exciting thing. Jordan James, Nico Williams, Ampadu. You could throw Cabango in there as well. Brennan Johnson, Daniel James.
Really?
They're, like, all under 27, 28. Yeah. I mean, excluding Daniel James and Sorba Thomas and Brennan, they're all under 23. Like... It's difficult not to be excited by that. And I just think, like I said, the standard that Craig Bellamy has set since he's taken over just meant that everyone's very, very, like, excited by it. And everyone's like, oh, we were terrible. But we weren't terrible.
No. So, mate, this is the first time in my lifetime that, like, a Welsh team isn't relying on 1 or 2 stars, you know? Yeah, like Bellamy spoke about it in the press conference a few days ago. I listened to it and he said, like, Wales can't afford to just bank on another Gareth Bale coming out. Like, no nation in the world is going to produce another Gareth Bale for another 50 years. It's just a fact. Never mind our little, 4 million population country. It just ain't going to happen. That doesn't happen. We need to move on. And he said, we need to build a team. We need to build a core of younger players that can all come through and play in a system that everyone understands. And I think that is, like you just mentioned, then with all those young players who've still got incredible amounts of experience already and caps for us, is that's what we're doing now. We're not building around a player. We're not building around Harry Wilson. We're building around Harry Wilson, Brennan Johnson, Sorba Thomas, Nico Williams, Jordan. Like, it's an actual 11, mate. They're all good and players.
The rest, mate, because
the rest is loads of them. Yeah,
on the bench. There's loads not in the squad this time round. There's a couple who didn't make the squad. Like, the talent, and then you've got the youngsters, but you haven't even got to, like, the genuine youngsters.
Yeah, like 18, the Biancaries and
19-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it is an exciting time for Welsh fans. On the phone in just now, they asked me, would I take a point tomorrow? So I could ask you the same question. Would you take a point now?
No, I'm greedy, mate. I'm greedy. I think we deserve.
He set standards so high, mate, haven't he?
Yeah,
Like, he wouldn't take 4 points from those first 2 games.
Yeah, and like, no disrespect to North Macedonia, even though they are a good team, they've got good players, but we've got good players as well. Like, let's back ourselves. I think our Welsh mentality is very much just concentrate on the opposition and look at their strengths. Yeah, but let's look internally and go, well, hang on a minute. We've got fucking 5 Premier League players and 6 Championship playing week in, week out players. Well, they don't have that. Like, they have 2 or 3 La Liga players and 1 Turkish player and whatever. And I know it's different when they play for their country. There's a sort of camaraderie and a tribalism that comes with that. Same for us. Like, our players love playing for Wales. I can't see how we can doubt ourselves. We drew 0-0 to Turkey away and should have won, probably, yeah? Should have had a pen. Jordan James scored and it was offside, apparently, when it probably won. Like, mate, I think we should go there thinking we can go win that and even maybe not concede. I know we've conceded against Kazakhstan, but it's a dodgy pen. I think we can go there and win 1-0, 2-0, and maybe at a push.
The most positive thing about it is if we can go and win tomorrow by hook or crook, we can be 6 points ahead of Belgium before they even play. That's massive because
I know
we're always the team who's chasing.
Yeah.
The team at the top, whether that's a Belgium or whoever. So to be able to, and look, I get they got the games in hand and, they won last night. So they're going to be maybe have a little bit of confidence, but they did scrape by. Yeah. And the other side of it is points that you'd always have the points rather than the games in hand because things can go wrong. It looks like Liechtenstein are going to be the kind of the team at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be between the others. But we know that North Macedonia can take points off Belgium. We know that we can take points off Belgium. And you never know if there's going to be a slip up against Kazakhstan. So having those 6 points on the board would be massive. If I'm probably because of my Welsh trauma, I'd probably take a point now because I'd be happy with 4. But that's the old mentality that you'd be happy with 4 points from your first 2 games. When actually, look at Craig Bellamy. He hasn't lost a game yet. He's been absolutely sensational as the manager. The team has been pretty much faultless since he took over in terms of performances and results. So why should we not back the manager and the team? Let's go for the 6 points, I say. And I think
let me flip on you. If we were playing at home, would you expect to win?
Absolutely. Go and win your home games.
So we're saying the factor of us being away makes us think that we shouldn't win. That's what you're basically saying, which I get.
It gives you a bit more of a defensive.
I agree. Yeah. No, there is that. I wouldn't ever doubt that as a thing. But if that's the only factor that's turning your mindset, I think that's a good place to be in a way.
The Craig Bellamy,
mate,
if anything,
unbelievable. If anything, better in a way, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, not better, but close to it.
I will be disappointed if we don't get 6 points. I got to be honest as well. Do you know what I do want to kind of just finish off on, mate? Really, is we do need to do something about the atmosphere in the stadium at the moment. It's there's something off about it at the moment. It's really been
weird, isn't it?
Even in the Poland game, mate. A big playoff. It didn't really get going till late in the game, extra time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a strange atmosphere. And I see a lot of criticism, people saying, it's just like the rugby now where you've got people that go in just to drink and they're not even watching the football. They're just got a daffodil hat on and they're sat there. You can hear them talking. And that was the thing. There's certain points in that game where you can just hear the kind of the humming of just people having conversations. Very strange for me, mate. To see the Cardiff City. Because normally, if that stadium's 3/4 full, it's bumping.
Yeah.
And if it's full, it's absolutely banging. And it's been really good for Wales. And I hope that we don't lose what we've built since sort of 2014, where the atmospheres are so good. I hope we don't start losing that and get a bit of a divide again. And I see it on social media, mate, and I see it elsewhere. You're always going to get that rivalry, particularly between Cardiff and Swansea, bit of North and South as well. But ultimately, in recent years, everyone's been on about
come
one
together.
Wales do well. So,
I don't know.
The atmosphere's
Like,
weird in there at the moment.
Yeah, I've heard that. My old man was going to go down. He didn't end up getting tickets in the end. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, like, I've been on a couple of Wales aways. I went to the World Cup. Like, I've experienced, what it's like to, support Wales away from home. And all I've got to say is it's magical, right? Like, it's a magical feeling being in that away end. And it's like, it's a feeling of euphoria. But it's very hard to replicate that over a 30,000, person stadium. Not saying we haven't had, good atmospheres before in the past at Cardiff City or wherever we play. But I just think, that sort of north-south divide and all that, maybe even club divide, that seems to go away on Wales aways from what I've gathered. And I'm not I'm not a veteran.
Tomorrow,
yeah. Like my mates are all out there now and it looks unbelievable. I'm not to say like they're just mixing with every, other sort of Welsh fan there is, but I'm sure in the stadium they will be. And I just think, I don't know, why can't we just scale that out, Or is it just because we're playing away and they're all having a wicked time? Like,
I think,
is it that, or is it just?
Though, mate, I think football generally, away fans are better, like atmosphere-wise.
Yeah. It's hard to ask for it to emulate over, but there needs to be some bit to that to like happen at home. No.
Yeah, I 100%, mate. But I also think part of it is the people who would make the noise are not always sat in the same place as part of the stadium, and there's all sorts of issues with it. But ultimately, I think it's kind of the way football generally is going. Like the atmospheres are getting watered down so much because of things that football clubs put in place. Ultimately, they just want families in there, don't they? And they want tickets and they want tourists and day trippers and the rest of it. But it's just part and parcel of football being where it is in the modern day, which is why, if you always give most people a choice of going home or away, they'll go away because
100%.
The atmosphere is just so much better. But I would like to see, because we've got the most exciting, it's the most exciting manager that we could possibly have for Wales at the moment. The football is good. The goals are good. The players are good. He's passionate. He genuinely cares. Like,
the product's
my
good,
biggest worry with Craig Bellamy, mate, is that if we do qualify for the World Cup, he ain't going to be there. So
surely he goes though, and then maybe, you know
what it's like, mate.
I know. Football moves quick.
Depends what the job is. Time goes quick.
Yeah.
And he's a proud Welshman, so you'd think he'd see it through. But if a job comes around where it's like once in a lifetime opportunity, let's just say hypothetically, he's a Liverpool fan. If the Liverpool job gets offered to him in a couple of years or next year,
you're not saying no.
Will he turn it down because he might think, I'll never get it offered it again? Now, I'm not saying, it is what it is, but again, a testament to what a great job he's doing, that we're concerned that
we've been thinking about that
long term.
Imagine thinking that about Rob Page. No disrespect. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just like there's no stepping stone for certain Welsh managers where like Bellamy's come in and has shown that he's got the ability in a young coach, a young manager to kick on if that was ever the case. And I think he'd want to leave a legacy though before doing that. But you're right though, mate. Football's brutal and football's sort of it moves so quick. Like you said, it might not happen again. That Liverpool job.
Most people have got like that certain club or that certain job that would
change it for them. Like,
go there. There's no way I can turn that down if it comes up. And 100%. I just, in my opinion, for him, I couldn't say I know him well enough to say that would be the case, because I know he's so proud of his Welsh, being Welsh and being a Welsh manager. So maybe that trumps it. But I know he's a big Liverpool fan, and that's the type of job that maybe only gets offered to you once, because it doesn't necessarily go round in cycles like some of the other jobs. But who knows? At the end of the day, mate, if he gets linked with jobs elsewhere, it's because he's succeeding with Wales.
With us.
So there's two ways to look at it, and
definitely,
he's putting the groundwork in to then, for someone else to take over or whatnot. But I hope he's here for years to come, mate. But
I think he will be, mate. Like, this is his first managerial job.
It's mad,
not to say, it is mad, really, because he's obviously followed company to Belgium and then obviously Burnley. And, in another world, he might be at Bayern with him right now, before taking a... Yeah, he's had the
No,
best
right.
sort of upbringing as far as like coaches can have, playing, managing under or shadowing, a company. So, mate, even just the way he thinks about the game, like he's quite selfless in the way, like he realizes he's not like the cleverest guy in the world, which you're not asking him to be. You can't be an amazing footballer and company can. He can speak like 10 languages. He's just an absolute genius of a guy, right? But some people are not blessed with that. No, we don't pick who we are at the end of the day. We're just sort of born that way. And I just think, Bellamy's really trying his hardest to be the best manager he can ever be for us as a country. And that's all you can ask for, mate. Like, he's carried on his sort of willingness to win and learn and get better from a player perspective, because he was so demanding. All the stories I've heard, like, I know he was, it's as simple as he was as demanding as a player can get, and sometimes too demanding. And now it seems like he's managed to like hone that in and channel it in a way that like makes sense for players now that he's a coach. And that takes a lot, because to transition from like a little mouthy, very demanding captain as a player to like a manager, like kind of chilled, but still rather demanding, and to come across in a way that
not easy,
players all, like that's a lot of self-development there in between that. Like it really is. And I'm not saying I'm saying that as if like I didn't think he could do it, but I'm just impressed that he's done it, and this is a testament to him.
Yeah, I think he's a tremendous manager, and already he's so detail oriented, tactically clever, and I think ultimately, mate, you could see he's grown up, he's matured, and all the rest of it. And I don't actually think he needed to grow up as much as people think. I don't think he was anywhere near the kind of, for lack of a better term, the wild child that people made him out to be. I think he had one or two instances where he fell out with people. I mean, who hasn't fallen out with people?
Everyone does.
I mean, can you imagine, mate, if you were constantly judged on things that you did in your 20s and teens? And do you know what I mean? Like, people evolve, people change, people grow up, their friends change, the way they look at the world changes. I mean, 100%. Jesus, I'm nowhere near who I was when I was a kid. I'm nowhere near who I was when I was 18, 19, in my 20s, and the rest of it. It's you evolved, didn't you? But back to the football.
Yeah.
Give me very, very quickly. Give me your starting 11 versus North Macedonia and your score prediction.
Okay, so starting 11. We haven't really spoke about it, but I thought Darlow did well in where he was asked to sort of step up. Very unlucky for the fucking penalty as well, by the way. Like, should have saved it, but like could have easily saved it in the way it ended up going in, which is very unlucky from his perspective. I think he did everything he could. Darlow in goal. I do think we go as a back three, even though Cabango hasn't started an away game yet. I do think we'll go with a more solid three in Davis, Cabango, Rodon. Nico plays. I think he plays left-sided, and then that probably means Connor Roberts plays right. But if that doesn't happen, I think it'll be Sorba left, Nico right. But I'll stick with Connor and Nico for now. I think it'll probably be Jordan James and Sheehan in midfield, and I think a front three of Brennan, Kiefer, Dan James. So Sorba only plays if Connor Roberts doesn't, in my opinion. And then if Sheehan doesn't play, which would be a bit crazy in some ways, but Cullen / Brooks come in. But I don't think that happens. I think he probably plays it safe on paper and goes Sheehan James.
You reckon there's any chance Tom Lawrence gets a start? Because obviously he's brought him in for a reason.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if he...
Could he be the ball playing number 8 next to Jordan James? Not that Jordan James
could.
Ball play, but
no, for sure. He's a bit more powerful than Sheehan. Yeah. I in a weird way, I kind of wouldn't mind him in there, over a Cullen or something. Because as far as like ball carrying goes and stuff, I think I'd back Tom Lawrence to do that. Do we need him to do that when we've got Jordan James who can do everything? Maybe not, but at the same time, I think he would be a nice addition in there. Yeah, I'm not throwing that out as a possibility, mate. Yeah, I think that could happen. But the fact he didn't Bellamy made only 3 subs in that home game, mate. Like, I know we only scored really late and it was 2-1, fair enough, whatever. But did you expect 4 or 5 or not? I don't want to go back into the game too much, but
maybe a couple. But then,
Tom Lawrence for 5 minutes. What's wrong with doing that? I'm
surprised Tom Lawrence didn't get on. But I think a couple of them were probably being saved for the away game, like Kiefer and Tom Lawrence. Like, for me, the reason why I I'd float in the idea of Tom Lawrence being alongside Jordan James. Is I think they might want Jordan James to be the energy, Tom Lawrence to be like they can both just look after the ball, and I think that's going to be vital. What we can't do is give the ball away in front of our defence like Sheen did on on Saturday, sorry. And I wonder whether, being as detail orientated as Craig Bellamy is and his staff are, whether they'll look at that and go, right, that's something that we cannot do again. However, in Josh Sheehan's defence, I think if we're in a double pivot with Jordan James, he's not exposed in that way anyway, so it doesn't happen. So I think both things can be true.
But I think we win 1-0. I think it's going to be tight, but I don't think we concede if we go with that type of defence I'm hoping we go for. And I say we sneak a little 1-0. It's not comfortable, but it's professional, and it's enough to sort of get us through with a lot of bodies in there, a lot of taller players that can help us on set pieces and stuff. I think that's the recipe for me. The 3. I don't know how the 3 looks, but yeah, I've obviously given you what I kind of think it looks like.
Yeah, I think.
What about you?
2-0 Wales.
Do you?
I think Ben Davies and Roden look so good that I think if you just pop in a young Cabango next to him, and then you've already got Nico as one wing back, and then you make a decision on the other one, and you could see like a Dan James or someone do it. Could quite conceivably see that, and they could almost like lopside it a bit. So Dan James is the one that goes right up and plays almost like a winger. And then just drops in sort of out of possession. But then the other 3 and Nico become a 4 sort of thing. Like there's loads of different ways to do it. But ultimately, I think the defences look really good. So I do think Wales are going to win. It's weird. I'm much more confident going into this than I was going into Saturday. So I'm going to go 2-0 Wales. I think Kiefer Moore will start, and I think Kiefer Moore will score as well. And he'll definitely get booked as well.
Oh, he's bound to get booked. Depends on the ref.
Arm in the face because
he's too big. Yeah, who am I saying for the goal? Oh man, I'm going to back Brennan from the pits of Saturday's sort of poor performance. I think he pops up with something on.
Yeah, he's got a habit of doing that, mate.
Tomorrow night. Just a little tap in, a little back post or whatever it looks like. Yeah, he loves a little tap in, doesn't he? But I don't want to say we're going to be comfortable, but like I said, it's a much tougher opposition. It's away. Like on paper, it should be a way tougher game, which it is. But I still think we've got far too much fresh legs. Like Macedonia's team won't change much. They didn't make that many like early subs from like their best players. They did a few, but like Bardi and Miovski all played. And there's been, a couple of days rest. It's not as if these players can't rest and play again. But we've got like serious fresh legs in midfield with Jordan James. Fresh legs with, maybe a Kiefer Moore. Not to say he's been that fit really all season, but even if Mark Harris comes in, there's just fresh legs. Cabango,
pace.
Pace, power, athleticism. You need that away. You do, and I think we've got it. We should utilize it, and I hope and think that. Yeah, I think it's enough to get us through. I really do.
Me too, mate. Me too. Right. Me and Harry will be back tomorrow night at about 10 o'clock. 2 hours. Basically, it'll be about sort of 10 minutes after the game finishes, give or take. So click the bell for notifications and you'll know exactly when we go live. So we'll be back tomorrow night. Obviously, everything will be good. I got former Cardiff City midfielder Don Cowie joining me on Wednesday evening from 7, as well as the Welsh Football Hour. Thursday, the Flower Hour, Friday, the Cardiff City Preview, and everything in between. So please do check it out, subscribe, all that good stuff. And me and Harry will be back tomorrow. Take care. Oh, no member show tonight. It's going to be later in the week. Just to inform you all. Tidy boys. No.